So I feel, when it comes down to it, it's a matter of completion. I feel when people ask like, "Yo, why are you retiring?" It's pretty obvious. I've been in this game for I think 11 years now, and I think that's a pretty solid number. I think I owe myself that because I just don't feel like pushing myself any further than I really need to. So yeah, it's a pretty good, solid number of completion. Turning 30, which goes to my next part, which is I feel this is a kind of a gift to myself, and that's something I kept thinking about. Like, what do I want to do for my 30th? What do I want to do for my 30th? Like, a lot of the things that I feel most people would probably want to do for the 30th, I've already done earlier on. I've traveled the world. I've been to places that I thought I would never ever be at. I've been to Croatia. I've been to Japan. I've been to Okinawa, Samami, St. Petersburg. Um, I've been to India. I've been to Amsterdam. So there's just so many different places that I have personally been to early on before I even hit 30 that now I'm kind of like, what do I even do now? So, yeah, so I feel, retirement is, I mean, it's a pretty great stamp. It's early enough in my age, but not late enough where I feel like I'm forcing something, where I feel like I'm overcompensating. So, yeah, so this actually feels really good. This feels really good. And, personally, I wanted to really make this documentary because I personally wanted to share this with the rest of the world because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, um, mainly from people that are not as close to me, people that are not within my immediate circle, or people that don't really know really how my mind works or why I do certain things or say certain things. So I feel this could be not only a gift to myself, but also a gift to those that are watching, if they want to get more insight around why I wanted to retire at this number. And, because I think a lot of times we have this force of nature to, and when I mean force of nature, not like a certain power, but we have this like knee jerk reaction to think we are entitled to telling people what they should do with their life, even if it doesn't even affect us. We do this all the time. Where it's like, oh, I don't think you should do this. You should do this, and oh, I wouldn't retire at that age. Maybe you should retire at this age. It's like it doesn't matter because you're not me. So, like, I hear you. Like that's cool that you don't want me to leave or retire, or whatever. But I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for you because I came into the game for me. I didn't come into this shit for you. So I also think a lot of people need to come with that reality or sit with that reality more so of like, I'm not doing this at all for y'all. I just wanted to more so at least leave something behind that you can really get some insight from. But other than that, I ain't doing this shit for you, and I never was doing this shit for you, and to begin with. So you either hate it or you love it. But that's soul at the end of the day. I think too, one of the things that I feel is necessary to state is, while also kind of looking back on like my years of just being on this earth and kind of like what I was saying earlier, of like I've done everything I felt I wanted to do as far as birthday things, or at least most of it. That also applies to my dance career. I feel that I've accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. Battle, whether it was cipher or even contest wise. I've even competed and won certain contests I didn't think I would even come out on top one in the first place. So I think that's also really dope too. I'm not. I was never really in this game to be someone that was like trying to compete until the fucking wheels fell off. Like that's not my bag. I respect people that want to just do this until they can't move anymore. That's a commend them for that, but that's also just not my thing. I always came into it of trying to figure out, one, how I was going to be the best that I could be for Detroit, and then two, what could I bring to the table that I felt a lot of other people weren't, whether that was skill wise or technique or even just like my mentality. And I feel I've done that. So now at this point, I'm like, yeah, I've done everything I set out I was going to do. I've judged at certain events I didn't think I would be able to judge at. I've competed in certain areas I didn't think I would ever be at. I've went against some vets. I've went against some of the best people globally, and I've beat them. And I've went against even some of the legends, and I've beat them. I've went against some legends, and I've stood my ground. So I think that's an accomplishment that's worth really acknowledging. And I think if we don't take the time to at least stop and pause to really enjoy the flowers, then we'll end up doing something that we once loved, but then we'll end up fading and we'll forget why we even started.
What's up, soul? What's up, soul? What's up, soul? Wow. Detroit in the building. Oh, shit. Nice.
I think too, another reason why I felt I needed to retire, I think it was kind of all a perfect storm, really. With my birthday coming up, um, the pandemic was like a really huge reason why I felt this was like the perfect timing, because one, I felt this pandemic really set all of us down in a lot of different ways and had us reflect on a lot of different things. Whether people are still reflecting on those things or not, that's a different story. But I do think it had us reflect on a lot of different things. And one of the things that really had me reflect on was community. I think that was a really huge, like, reoccurring word that kept recirculating for me over the past 2 years was community, and what does it mean to really be in community with someone, or people for that matter. What does that really entail? So I really started, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Investigating, interrogating, I guess. I don't know. What the dancing meant to me, because when I grew up, there was a lot of sense of community for me. I felt the Detroit scene really open, like, graced me with open arms, and of course I still have mad love for my hometown. So this isn't like even to them. But when I was looking for dancers that moved like I did, or at least similar to me, there is a certain, like, craving, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that felt that or feels this. There's a certain craving when you feel like you're the only one that does something, and they're like, yo, I know there's some other people out there that does this too, that has a similar passion. And so when I found them, I was like, yes, finally, okay, I'm not the only one. And the bond was just so natural and organic. And I felt at that moment that was what community felt like to me. And all we talked about was dance, though. Like, and that was great at that time in my life, because that's the only thing I really wanted to do, and that's the only thing I really wanted to, like, excel at, was dancing. So a lot of the particular topics that have been, or at least are starting to be a little bit normalized, talked about within conversations, just wasn't even near our radar as people. So now, once I've moved out to the West Coast and my horizons became even bigger, once I started touring, once I started traveling more to different countries, my horizon became bigger, and then it was almost like my sense of community got smaller. And you would think that's like the opposite. You would think the more you travel, your sense of community gets bigger. But for me, it was the opposite. And that's been something which I'm now just realizing that was starting to kind of happen before the pandemic even hit. And yeah, so once that happened, it was just like, shit, we can't really go out and cypher. We can't go to the clubs because those are shut down. We can't do this, we can't do that. I can't see the same people that I want, and then once certain things started surfacing about folks, I was like, damn, all right, well, there's that to consider too, of, like, there's pedophiles out there, there's rapists, there's, trigger warning, there's abusers, and people that are upholding racist ideologies and anti-blackness and the whole nine. So I felt at that point, my reality, my thought process, my vision of community got shattered. And then that's when I really started observing what was really there that I guess I didn't really take the time to acknowledge, because through, I would say, maybe like 8 years of my dance career, I was just constantly doing that. Right? Like, all right, I got that battle down. Cool. What's the next one? I did this. I won that. What's the next one? Right? Session after session, practice after practice. I wasn't pausing. I wasn't taking time to really, like, observe my surroundings like that. And the pandemic really forced me to do that. So, which I thank it for. It was a beautiful storm in a way. So, ultimately, I think now that I'm really able to observe that, now realizing that I was never really in a community, but it was a pseudo community, in a sense, of something that was never really real, but it felt real. So I settled for the reality, or the illusion of it, or the idea of it. Meanwhile, I was tricking myself into thinking that was real, but it wasn't. And so now, looking back, I'm like, yeah, this is the perfect time, I feel, to retire. 30's coming up. Dancing don't feel the same way it used to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And so now I'm just like, why would I stay? Like, I don't even see dance battles or contests in the same light that I used to. Like, I don't get excited from seeing it. And that's not even connected to, like, white supremacy at all. That's just connected to like that shit's just boring now at this point, because I'm like, y'all just doing the same shit. Like it's just the same people judging, or it's the same people making it to finals, same music being played. So that's just a whole other topic by itself. On top of now that I'm realizing people got a lot of dirt and skeletons that they're not willing to look at or acknowledge themselves. And so even with that, I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like being in the same space with those folks. It's just not until y'all are ready to heal, and it's not to say that I got all the answers, but shit, I've at least put in the effort and the amount of time to get some of the answers, and people still ain't trying to even hear that. So at this point, I'm like, I've never been the type to just try and be buddy to like keep the peace. It's like, that's, if you're trying to do something that's inauthentic to keep something, it was never there to begin with. So that's how I choose to see it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is, and the dance scene is toxic and fake as fuck. So to just be super frank. And there's just a handful of dancers that I still fuck with, because those are the people that I feel are actually making an effort to unlearn and deprogram themselves, desettle, unsettle, decolonize, whatever you want to phrase it as, who are actually, putting in some work and really with the smoke. And those people, if they're watching this, y'all know who y'all are, but at the end of the day, I'm not the type to waste time when it comes to something that I'm passionate about. Especially too, because I feel that's an easy slippery slope to fall on that can deter me from actually loving the very thing, or falling out of love with the very thing that I fell in love with to begin with. So, and I'm not about to let that taint it whatsoever. So, yeah, I think this is the right choice. I've been thinking about it for the last 2 years, and now that I'm finally here, I'm out. lot of questions are going to come up around my retirement, and I know some of the questions are going to be, yo, are you still going to teach? Are you going to judge still? Is it just that you're not competing? Like, what does this mean? You know what I mean? And I feel I'm way more selective now. I feel I'm way more selective. No, I am no longer competing. That for sure is done. I'm not competing anymore for money or trophies or anything like that. That chapter is closed officially. One, because I personally feel that, well, I mean, I kind of said it earlier already. Like when you get to a certain point, at least for me anyway, I can't speak for everyone else, but at least for me, when you start winning a lot and start like realizing that you have a particular formula that works for you, not necessarily that it works as far as like judging, but it works for you, right? And you realize that this formula, it has been getting you a lot of success within the contest realm. You're going to start realizing, or at least I started realizing, that I started to reach a ceiling with that formula. And the particular people that I went up against, I already went up against them like before I even hit this age. So it was kind of like, well, I've kind of already went against people that were my inspirations, or people that have like very much influenced my dance in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, like 24, 22, 23, 25, you know, like around that age, I was already going against iconic people at the time. So I'm kind of like, well, there really is nobody else to go against that I personally want to go against. You know, granted, there are some people out there, but it's kind of like it's not a bucket list type thing. It's kind of like, if it happens, it'll happen in the cipher. But other than that, I'm not forcing it. It's kind of one of those type of things for me. So I'm like, yeah, there really is no point for me to compete, because I've won all the things I said I was going to win, and everything else that I didn't expect to win, I either won it or I made it all the way to final. So already it's kind of a win to me, because I'm like, I've made it that far. So that's kind of like I'm just not in this. I'm not in this for the money anymore like I was before. You know, when I initially came into it, because I'm like, oh, okay, I can make money off of this. Cool. Now I'm no longer in this for the money. It really is just a matter of like, yeah, I did what I said I was gonna do. Okay, cool. There's no point in forcing this and trying to stay past my welcome, I guess, if you will. So as far as the competing part, yeah, that's done. But as far as like teaching wise, yeah, I think teaching wise, as far as like workshops or anything, that chapter's also done. And the reason why I feel like that is because I just feel so strongly now that, you know, with everything that has transpired from last year, with, you know, the uprising with George Floyd and everything, the global pandemic and everything like that, it really had me sit and really unpack a lot of things that I had no idea was really there for me. And one of the things in particular was teaching, really, and like how many people really will just value you as a dancer because of what you can give them, but they don't really value you as a human. And I really started realizing just how gross of a feeling that is. So I'm like, damn, so you're only coming here because of what you feel I can give you, but not because you actually respect my actual humanity, right? And, you know, I'm like, no, I'm not feeding into that anymore. I'm not doing that. Granted, get your money how you need to get your money, right? I'm not shaming anybody who feels they need to teach to make a living, because capitalism fucks all of us. So I get it, right? Do that. Just make sure you don't know like appropriation type shit or exploitation. Cool, do your thing. But for me personally, I personally cannot feed into that of just having people just want to show up to a workshop, whether it's virtual or in person, because they just value what I can give them, as opposed to they really value my humanity, and that's why they're coming, right? And so I'm just like, nah, I'm good on that. And that's why for me, I've really shifted how I'm teaching now. Like, granted too, I still have some stuff up my sleeves that I do want to leave you all, or leave the world, that I feel will transpire beyond me when I'm gone. Like I have a few things that I do want to at least leave behind as far as dance wise, but it's not going to be things that you might think they are. So I would just say just keep a lookout for that because I am working on that particular thing. But yeah, because I mean at the end of the day, I always loved it. Always loved dance. I always will have a super super huge spot in my heart for dance. Like that is me. I am it. So there really is no excluding dance. Like off rip. But it's just I'm just shifting my focus a little bit more now on where I want to put my energy and where I think things are worth my energy being distributed in the first place too. So there's also that.
Yes, sir!
Let's go. And then too, I feel, as far as the judging aspect, I'm pretty selective on that. Like I think if it's one of those things of like, yo, we couldn't think of anybody else who we felt was like perfect for this judging position, would you be down? And it's a black ran event, sure, I'm down for that. Yeah, I'll come through and I'll judge, right? But obviously, like I said, it's very exception, when it comes down to judging though. But I'm not necessarily closing that door because I do know, like, I still do have a love for judging because I know there's just not a lot of great judges or quality judges or qualified judges out there. So I'm like, you know what? If someone feels that, hey, this is a last resort type deal, we know you're retired, but would you be down for at least coming through and making sure things are like on point? Sure, I'll come through. So that's where I'm at with that. And plus too, I'm always down with like at least being in the space as long as it's safe, and people are making an effort to make sure that safe spaces are in there. Then yeah, I'm definitely down to come out and judge. But what I will say is that as far as DJing goes, that I feel is also where I'm shifting to more. Is like just being like a full time DJ. That also is a composer as well. So. Because that's my love. Music is my number one love. I would not be dancing without music. So, it kind of makes sense. So that's just where I see a lot of my attention and energy going to now. I'm putting a lot of that into my music, whether it's composing or just DJing for that matter. So, if you still need a DJ, to DJ your events, as long as you ain't on no fuck shit, I'm with it. You know, I'll come through and bless your event, make sure that it's all heat, and you know what it is. So yeah, but as far as that goes, as far as like competing or teaching publicly or virtually dance wise, nah, that's those are completely closed for me. But I will say I still have at least like one exhibition, like one or two good quality exhibitions in me, because I feel exhibitions is where I can still feel very much like myself, where I'm not being judged by judges. I'm just like, yo, there is no criteria other than just Mark shit. So, you know, if that's still on the table, then I'm totally down to still do that. But again, it's super selective. So everything is way more intentional from here on out. I felt, you know, when I was first starting out, I was trying to just get every opportunity possible because I was trying to like make a name for myself. But now that's already established, like Soul is kind of like a household name now at this point. You know, it's pretty rare if you don't know who Soul is. So at this point, I'm kind of like, yeah, there really is nothing else to prove, you know? And why force, you know, why trying to stay in something longer than you really need to, you know, if you've already made a huge impact. So that's where I'm at with it. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see where this next chapter takes me and shifting my focus to a lot of the actual, you know, internal social issues, you know, humanity type of issues for the planet and everything like that, because that's needed. And I feel a lot of people really think that's something to just support as opposed to really diving into that to make sure that this place doesn't cave on itself. So yeah, so you know, I think it's a clear sign of like maturity and growth and wisdom. And what better way to honor 30 than to shift in that way. I think at the end of the day, you know, I feel a lot of people think that legacy is a lot of like the external, but I really think it has to do with how you made an impact in people's lives, and that surpasses the external. And I think when it comes down to that, like, yeah, it's great to look back at the accolades and, you know, all of the matchups that I've had, timeless matchups, right, with a lot of greats and iconic, you know, dancers and whatnot. That's all really dope to look back, you know. You know, obviously, I said like it's dope to really look back and see how many things you've done in your career. But at the end of the day, when it's all set in stone, none of that shit really matters. And what matters for me, like what I feel is legacy, is the impact you make in people's lives, right? And you might say like, well, you know, some of your battles or your rounds might have made a huge impact in people's lives as far as dance wise goes. And it's like, yeah, sure, definitely. But I'm not talking about that. I'm more so speaking to something that goes beyond the external realm, right? Like you're able to really look at your life and kind of assess how you do things that goes beyond the dance floor. Because to be honest with you, like, I think a lot of people who are at a certain level within this game, the stance game, feel that some of them feel like they're not leaders. Some of them feel like they're not even teachers until they step foot into a classroom. And I feel the teaching starts before you get into that class. And it also continues after you leave it, right? And I think that is something that is lost on us as individuals, as humans, because we think that teaching is like a very isolated situation, but we don't understand that we're teaching 24/7, right? And people are constantly learning from us 24/7, right? So it's not to say that, oh, we start teaching the moment that we teach a workshop and then now we're teaching. No, you start teaching from how you show up to the workshop. You start teaching before you even get there, and you continue to teach when you leave it. That for me is legacy. How do you conduct your class when you're in it, and how do you conduct yourself when you're outside of the class as well? How do you show up when you're done with that class? What space do you create for people when you're done with that class, right? That's also part of legacy for me. You know, are you making sure that you're affirming people's humanity? That goes way beyond dance. That's legacy for me. You know, so we can talk all day about the accomplishments I've had or the matchups that I've had or the places I've traveled, but none of that shit matters when it really comes down to it. Because what I'm concerned with is essentially how people's humanity are impacted. How is it impacted at the end of the day? I'm trying to always go beyond dance. That's always been my teaching. That's always been my method, is to go beyond dance, to go beyond the foundations or the histories of the foundations, right? Or beyond the music. It's like, what are you doing? How are you using that to make yourself a better person? You know what I mean? Like when someone tells you, oh yeah, you know, that's not how you do that. Okay, cool. Can you show me that? How do I actually do that then? And then you have that conversation. That for me is legacy, not we try to talk about things that we're not educated on. That's also part of your legacy. Those are things that people are going to inherently pick up and learn and think that that's normal. They're not really paying too much attention like that to your dance as you think they are. They're paying attention to what you say and how you say it. They're paying attention to how you show up in certain spaces. They're paying attention to the things that you choose not to listen to when you should be listening. That is legacy. So at the end of the day, legacy really is about your humanity and what you choose to leave behind and how much you're impacting this world, for better or worse. Because we all have power at some extent. We all have power. And obviously with that power comes responsibility. And I think a lot of people are squandering that responsibility because they feel they're just dancers. But not me. I've surpassed being a dancer years ago. Years ago, I've surpassed that. Because it was too much of a box. It was too limiting. I had to stop seeing myself as simply just this dance form. If I was really going to make a huge difference in this world, I had to stop seeing myself as that. And of course, that comes with a price. That comes with loss. That comes with compromise. That comes with sacrifice. But it's worth it because it's radical. Because we continue to not challenge the status quo of things. So, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, people could see their legacy as like how they used to dance. I could care two shits about that. I don't care. What did you do on this earth when you were simply just a human? You take all those awards away, take all those titles away from you. Who are you? Because if you're nobody without those, you never had a legacy. You never had a legacy. Because all that shit is external. Because if you never won it, then that means you would be no importance to anyone, to anything. You would be to no value of this dance shit whatsoever. So who are you without that? I want to be more than my accolades. I want to be more than my accomplishments. I want to be more than the titles that I've won or the people that I've won over or that I've beat. I want to surpass that. That for me is legacy. What's legacy for you?
I can't seem to find a word sometimes. Guess that makes me fall. I picked up the phone to you that night. Got no reply. But no matter, 'cause I found peace inside for the first time. Finally letting go of the things I feel. Looking out at the world of possibility. Hunting for all the things I truly need. It's like a movie speed. The silence shows my mind. I'm looking for something watertight. When lightning strikes, the edge of the road that's in my sight. If I stay lost, finally letting go of this memory. Finally to dust it all. I'll take forward only things I truly need. It's like a movie speed. Away, caught in a lockdown. Away, feeling you lost out. Away, caught in a lockdown. It's nothing keeping me waiting. Keeping me waiting. Keeping me waiting. The silence shows my mind. Shows
Well, I guess this is it. 11 years. 11 years completed. 11 years accomplished. It's pretty wild, actually. You think about it. I actually didn't even think I would be retiring at 30. But it's pretty wild, when your course of life changes, you kind of just gotta flow with it and don't resist it, right? So this is pretty special. It's not even bittersweet. I really thought it would be. Like, I thought I would be missing certain aspects of the dancing, but I'm actually not. And I think that's why I feel so complete with me retiring at the age that I'm retiring, because I really do feel I've done everything I said I was going to do. And, I feel that with all the lessons I've learned, there are no regrets. I feel like things become regrets when we don't listen to the lessons, right? Or we continue to ignore them or brush them to the side, and then that's when they become regrets. But from all the people I've met, to the fights, to the breakups, to the makeups, this is an 11-year relationship I've had with the dance scene, aka the dance community, quote unquote. I'm really excited for this next chapter. So, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has rocked with me thus far, all my day ones, who are still with me, whether you're part of the dance scene or not, just dance ones. Not dance ones. Day ones, they come in many forms. So, yeah, thank you to everybody who's rocked with me. Thanks to everyone who has just now come in my journey as well, who's planning on staying here for the long haul. And thanks to everyone who has, essentially taught me that you can't trust everyone. You can't be cool with everyone, right? And that's okay. I love that. I love that I don't like everybody. I love that I don't rock with everybody, because it means that I know myself enough to know that no, I don't fuck with them. I don't fuck with that person. I know myself enough to know that I don't have to say what up to them when I come into the space or something, just to, like, quote unquote keep the peace, right? Like, fuck that. No. So those are all lessons as well. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have gotten to this space of knowing that I was taken advantage of, that my energy, that my blackness was taken advantage of. So, yeah, everything was a lesson. And I'm fortunate enough to know that I was listening. And timing is everything too. So it's all about the right timing for things. So yeah, thank you to everyone who rocked with me. And thanks to everyone who's continuing to rock with me. And excited to see where this next journey takes me. So yeah, that's pretty much it. All greats have a story. And all greats have an end. This is mine. Thank you.